Good evening. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Round Lake Area School District Board of Education on September 12th, 2022 at 7:01 p.m. If I can, let me get started with a roll call, please.
Mrs. McKinley?
Here.
Mr. Francisco?
Here.
Mr. Tavera?
Here.
Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Mr. Jewett?
Here.
All right, and next up is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and as we get started, board members, please remember cell phones off the tables, and please set phones to silent. All right, first up is approval of meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve an agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Larson, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tavera?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
And we have an approved agenda. And first up on that is communications to the board and our BPAC update.
Good evening. It's a really a pleasure for me to be here. My name is Merced Alfaro. I'm member of the BPAC, and tonight is a very special night because today I'm going to present the new president of the BPAC. We have a new president, and I'm very happy for that because his name is Humberto Casas. He's an excellent parent, member, voluntary member in the BPAC, and he loves this community like me. So it's a pleasure to me to be here with him. So he is coming.
I'm very happy to be here. I'm waiting to learn a lot of new stuff and a lot of new things. It's a new experience for me. It's a pleasure again, and I'm a little nervous. Sorry, it's my first time to be talking in public. My name is Humberto Casas, and I'm going to be the new president of BPAC, and I'm very happy to work and help for our children. My son attends to this high school, so I would like to get more involved and to see, as parent, what I can do or what we can do, and I would like to continue working with VPAC to the good for our children or our kids. Thank you very much.
And I'm going to continue a member of the BPAC too because I love this school, my students, my community. So I continue here too. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, next up is our CEDAW Governing Board recap.
Okie dokie. Let's see. When we met on the 24th, we did a lot of stuff. There was a memorandum of understanding with the teachers union, presentation of the final budget, a lot of program reports, just a lot of stuff that they're doing. Really just a lot of stuff going on. Rates are going up a little bit this year. Not a surprise. Things are going up everywhere. So yeah, they're just, happy to be working with us, and things seem to be rolling along.
Any questions? Thank you. All right, next up is the IASB Fall Lake Division Dinner Meeting. As I think we got it communicated out, it will be on October 12th, 2022. It's going to be at the Lake Zurich High School Performing Arts Center. We've got the directions out there Definitely, again, just as a quick recap, we're moving, ISB Lake Division has decided to try and move more to having these at the schools and less at the hotel thingy. So hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more in the way of that. This one will be at Lake Zurich, and then we'll have another one in the schools come the spring. But make sure you clear your calendars for that, and we look forward to yet another great division dinner meeting on that one. Any questions? Perfect.
They used to have them at the schools, didn't they?
We used to have the springs were in the school, and the fall was at the hotel. Now we're trying to get them back into the school, but we decided, you know what, just let's do them all in the schools. And plus, especially with us with organic life, food's better here than it is at the hotels. So, all right. Hearing no other questions on that, we'll move on. Anybody have any questions regarding the FOIA report? Hearing none on that, we will move forward then on contracts under 1,000. Any questions in regard to the contracts under 1,000? All right, hearing none there. Next, we will step into public comment. As always, members of the public may participate in public comment during regular board meetings by attending in person or by submitting an electronic public comment form. Please note that in all ways, speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Electronic public comments will be accepted up until noon on the day of the scheduled regular meeting, and the public commenter will be contacted to confirm identity. Once confirmed, the electronic public comment will be provided to all board members in written form, and a link to electronic public comment can be found in the documentation. We did not have any electronic public comment prior to this meeting, and now we'd open it up. Anyone locally would like to have public comment? We're good. All right. Then we will now move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Board President Francisco and Board. I have a very brief update this evening. First, just a list of donations. Nancy Caravello, books and school supplies for Village. Abbott Laboratories donated 12 large boxes of assorted school supplies for the entire district. Nexus and United Way donated Sensory Path and supply backpacks for Village. Would also like to welcome our new BPAC president. So I look forward to meeting you. I'm probably going to reach out to you just to set up a meeting and just to get to know you, and certainly we want you to get to know us. And just, you did a great job this evening. And then we have some upcoming events. I think, as all of you know, September, very, very, very busy. I will be sending information to the board probably tomorrow, just with details on how the parade is going to work. I believe I'm driving a district truck. That's either good or bad for you, but we'll make sure we button up some of those details. But that concludes the superintendent's report.
Any questions? Hearing none, we'll next move to committee reports. And who is handling our community engagement?
So today's community engagement committee meeting was 2 pieces. One is, definitely want to plug the packet. If you haven't reviewed it, please do. There is actually it's the communication initiatives timeline. There are 5 different initiatives that are on there at the moment that you can see. And the presentation that we had in the committee meeting was actually from one of those major timelines, and it was actually the Round Lake Family Wellness Program. And the presenter was Rafael Malpica, who's from Advocate. His title, if you abbreviate, is DOHPCGACGS. Yes, he's got a very long title. He's actually the director of hospital programs from Advocate, Condell, and Good Shepherd. And he was talking about the Round Lake Family Wellness Program, and a couple highlights from that. One is this year's is the second iteration. Last year, the program was predominantly around mental health, and that came out of BPAC parent input, really grew out of community needs, input around mental health and substance abuse. And one of the phrases that stood out to me is, could you please help us because we are losing our kids in their own room. And I thought that stuck. And so last year it started out with 60 parents. Most community programs that I'm aware of that start out with 60 parents probably have some sort of a decrease, usually about really good ones, only about a 10% decrease. This one grew to about 130 participants, parents at the end, which just shows the impact of, shows a few things. It shows the impact of the program, how valuable it is to the parents. But the other piece, a couple pieces that it really shows, and Mr. Malpica talked about that, and it was the credibility of the group and the impact and the trust that Maria Colunga and that BPAC has had throughout the community. So grew to 130, this, and as he actually said, it's probably one of the most successful focus type community programs that they have, especially if one that focuses on a specific community or demographic. This year, what's different is still will focus on mental health and substance abuse, but add a student element or youth element. And so there will be programs that will be running concurrent. The max is 300 parents. And we'll still also have it at McGee, and it will be concurrent. So it'll be the youth and the parent program will be at the same time. And the presenter this year for the parents is the same, Fernay Ramirez. For those of us that participate in the program, he's a rock star, and they have another rock star for the youth, Mr. Dane Cruz. He'll be working for doing the youth section. The other piece that any questions about that? No? The other pieces in terms of the communication was around the action teams for partnership actually has expanded. Instead of just going to 8th grade, it is up to 12th, pre-K through 12, so the whole district, most of the district. And so starting this month with principal planning, and it's the SIP review. Where it is, it's this program, if you remember, is where the parents are giving input in terms of ways that they can help support, implement, or help simplify some of the SIP initiatives. Intent is bringing families into the input of and engagement opportunities in the education process. And we're doing a reset this year. Also, the other one is about the Indian Hill Elementary School Mascot Review. Starting fact finding and historical research next month. We'll then in November start surveys and then public input, and that will continue. And then also in the material was about the PAC committee and the university along with BPAC. And then also something else that's new is marketing materials is being created for the district. One is there's an activities brochure that is going to be created and shared with the district in November. In October, it's an athletics brochure, both determining different sort of formats, whether it's electronic or physical. And then in February, there's a district profile. And then in March is a school profile. And at the end of the year is another profile that I cut off. The annual report, thank you. And that, any questions? There's a lot of material in there. I'd recommend going in there. All right, that concludes the committee meeting report.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah, go.
The brochures for the the athletics and activities, will that be presented to the board?
Yes, we'll work through the community engagement committee and then bring all of those before the board as well through the updates.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, the communications committee will have input really around the action team, the Indian Hill mascot, and the marketing material.
Perfect.
Thank you. Hearing no other questions there, we will move on to some approval of open meeting minutes.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of the August 15th, 2022 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mrs. Larson. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of the August 29th, 2022 special expulsion meeting hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. De Vera, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes. And motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda for the accounts payable report for $2,360,773.82 and the September 12th, 2022 employment report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Larson, seconded by Mr. De Vera. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, old business. I need a motion to approve the revisions to the board policies as listed within the board memo.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mr. De Vera. Any follow-up questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the board superintendent communication expectations mutual agreement and related board member use of social media agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Any questions about the updates that were provided? Thank you, Mrs. McGinley, for some great clarification. I know we dropped off.
Yes, I know I presented some red lines and additions and redactions. One of them was number 12, where I had asked the administration for clarification on registering our social media accounts. In talks with Mrs. Bennett, none of us have official school board media accounts, so we're going to remove line 12.
Do we want to leave line 12 in there because of, in the future, there may be somebody with that? Or is that something that we just won't ever have that created?
We shouldn't have official school board.
All right, hearing no additional questions, roll call, please.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Motion carries.
Right, new business. I need a motion to approve the addition of 1.0 FTE dual language teacher at Pleviac.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Ms. Larson. Dr. Mendoza, do we want to just clarify and put anything out?
Yeah, just we do the best we can at trying to assess staff in the spring, but as we actually, I believe we're over our projections. At kindergarten, this is a dual section. We need to comply with the class size guideline. And if my memory is correct, I think it is, the requirement for dual is actually less than our traditional sections of 29. So we just need another teacher to lower the class size.
Never gonna complain that we're having enough kids to take care of, so. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McKinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, next up, we're to positive occurrences, and I will get it started. We had the ability to go to the Wakanda Invitational cross country meet on Saturday. Saw our cross country team along with a lot of cross country teams from across Lake County. Second meet that I've been to so far this year. Again, great job. One of the nice things is seeing the new tent that we have up for the Panther cross country team. Because all the other schools out there have their own tents that they all get up and work through. So it's nice having that the school colors and the logos out on that and seeing it, much like the tent that we had set up at the football game, but it's actually the cross country team's one. So very nice to see there. Great to see the soccer season rolling along. Great job across the board there, and looking forward to seeing the middle school soccer seasons get up and running. I know we had a little bit of a hiccup with the weather today, but we'll get that up and running as well. And I'm sure somebody else will chime in on band, so I'll let that be.
I was gonna chime in on band.
There you go.
Good job to them. Even though things got messy and things had to get moved indoors, and then they had to try and not, bump into the judges because it's a much smaller space than they were used to. But they did a really, really, really good job.
This is a staff recognition. Is Liz here this evening? Well, I'll do it anyway. So I was at the tech campus and I run the board meetings. And they hired a director of professional learning. Tech campus right now has more kids enrolled than they have in like 10 years. So that's really good. But their director of professional learning basically built their professional learning system based off of what Liz set up in our school district. He kept talking about Liz during the meeting. It was like great. I mean, he's like, we're doing this. I met with Round Lake, Liz Damp, and we're doing this and this and this. And it's really, really good. I mean, they're doing some very creative things at the tech campus, teaching literacy across content areas. Think about what goes on at the tech campus. So I just thought that was really, really cool. So just credit to her and the team and Dr. Center and the team. So that was excited to hear.
So I'll just add, tennis is off to a good start. They have 2 conference wins, and a shameless plug for them. They're selling their spirit wear, so you can find the link on social media. And then, soccer, as Mr. Francisco mentioned, it is nice to see the tents, both at, soccer, football, and track having those. So that's a nice addition for the athletics.
As always, exciting. All right, next up are future agenda items. Anybody got any future agenda items want to add up?
Just, you've heard about these before, but I just want to give you a heads up. These are coming probably within the next 2 to 3 meetings. 8th grade recognition, we're going to bring that back to talk about just some of the details, the gowns, location, that kind of thing. I believe at the next meeting next week, you'll see the first iteration of our strategic plan monitoring document. So you'll see that. Next week, I'm going to be bringing forth a very, very high level timeline of very large scale initiatives that we've talked about a couple of times, really important things specific to bringing Pleviac back, looking at expanding early childhood, those types of things. And then Dr. Apgar will be bringing forward an enrollment update. How are we tracking with our enrollment specific to what the enrollment projection says? So I just wanted you to know I haven't forgotten about those. Those will all be coming probably individually starting next week and go on for a couple meetings. So,
and on top of that, we're still going to get the walkthroughs for the board for the warehouse.
Mary, can you update the board on that just briefly?
Yes, given that we have two committee meetings, so one each Monday, what we're gonna do is do like an open house at Calvary from like 5 to 5:45 and have it open on one Monday, and then we'll do the same thing at the warehouse the other Monday. Figuring, what I've heard multiple times is keep it on the same day that you're already coming in.
In worst case, if you need us to meet you there, if you wanted to go at a different time, just let me know. We would take care of it. So,
They're both basically a large rectangle. So it's not gonna take long. Like, how can I say that? It's not gonna take long.
All right, hearing nothing else then, we will move on for some closed session minute approvals.
I need a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of June 20th, 2022 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DeVera, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of June 20th, 2022 special meeting expulsion hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mr. DeVera. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the open session here. So let me get started with, I need a motion to convene in closed session as permitted by statute 5 ILCS 120/2 for the purpose of discussing the following matters. Employment matters, 5 ILCS 120/2C1, real estate matters, 5 ILCS 120/2C5, and closed meeting minutes, 5 ILCS 120/2C21.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mr. De Vera. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Motion carries, and we will reconvene in closed session. So thank you all for this evening. We will be back here again next week for another full set of meetings. So yay, same bat time and same bat channel. Look forward to seeing you then.